And here is the Writer's Almanac for Tuesday. It's the 15th of June, 2021. It's the birthday of Lisa del Giocondo, born in Florence, Italy, 1479. When she was 15, she married a wealthy silk merchant named Francesco. They seem to have had a happy marriage, and in about 1503, Francesco commissioned a local artist, Leonardo da Vinci, to paint his wife's portrait, which Leonardo took on. He was between commissions at the time. He chose a rather large canvas for this portrait, and he also made a decision to paint her close up, which was rather revolutionary for the time. He was working on the portrait of Lisa del Giocondo when he got a very lucrative commission to paint the Battle of Anghiari with Michelangelo for the Palazzo Vecchio. So he set aside the portrait of her. He left Florence, never delivered it to Francesco, and Lisa took it off, finished the portrait, and it wound up in the hands of the French king Francis I. The portrait, of course, was the Mona Lisa, which 6 million people every year look at in the Louvre in Paris. Much of this information was uncovered by a journalist, Diane Hales, who found out all she could about the mysterious Lisa and wrote a book about it. Mona Lisa, A Life Discovered, came out a few years ago. Lisa del Giocondo died in 1532. She was 53 years old. It was on this day in 1934 the Great Smoky Mountains National Park was founded in Tennessee and North Carolina, the most visited national park in the country. About 10 million people come through every year. And it's the birthday of the Japanese poet Kobayashi Issa, born in Kashiwabara, Japan, 1763, one of the masters of the haiku. He wrote more than 20,000 of them in his lifetime as he traveled around Japan, keeping a travel diary, visiting shrines and temples across the country. It's the birthday of Edvard Grieg, born in Bergen, Norway, 1843, who led a busy life as a composer and conductor and piano soloist, traveling around Europe and performing his famous piano concerto in A minor. And it's the birthday of the science writer Davis Sobel, born in New York City, 1947. Her mother was a chemist. Her father was a doctor. She wrote about science for the New York Times and then had a big book in 1996 called Longitude. Here's a poem for today by Joyce Sutphin, My Father Dying. It was hard work, dying, harder than anything he had ever done. Whatever brutal, bruising, back-breaking chore he'd forced himself to endure, it was nothing compared to this. And it took so long. When would the job be over? Who would call him home for supper? And it was hard for us, his children. All of our lives, we'd heard my mother telling us to go out, help your father. But this was work we could not do. He was way out beyond us in a field we could not reach. A poem by Joyce Sutphin, My Father Dying, from her collection Carrying Water to the Field, New and Selected Poems, published by University of Nebraska Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac. Funded by donations from listeners like you, now available on PRX for distribution by your local radio station. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.